Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. So today I am finally doing a history of feminism, and it's a video that I've been so excited for, and now that I'm home for Christmas, I can finally do it, so I really hope you enjoy it. When I was doing my research for this video, I was looking up really inspiring women that have made like a really positive contribution to feminism throughout the years, but what I was finding is that there were so many of these women, and obviously I couldn't include all of them, so I decided to pick 5 women that were, in my opinion, like really inspiring and just kind of cool. So let's get started. Okay, so first up we have Marlene Dietrich. Now, she is German, and I don't know if that's the right pronunciation of her name, but anyway, she was a German-American actress. Now, while her efforts didn't directly fight for women's rights, Marlene made a contribution to feminism through fashion, and I think that's so cool. The Hollywood actress wore trousers and men's suits during a time where it was considered extremely scandalous and taboo, both on screen and privately. Now, she was openly bisexual at a time when public non-heteronormative sexuality was barely an option. So one time she was travelling on a train to Paris in 1933. Marlene wore a white suit head to toe. The Paris police chief received word of this and threatened to arrest her upon her arrival because it was technically illegal for a woman to wear trousers at this time. So Marlene arrived in Paris wearing this suit, but she was also wearing a men's coat, sunglasses and hat. She grabbed the police chief by the arm and escorted him off the platform. Now, I think she is such an icon. Like, she's so cool. So the next inspiring woman we have is Coretta Scott King. Now, she is most known for her marriage to Martin Luther King, but she is so established in her own right. And, growing up, I never heard of her. I just knew that that was his wife. But now that I was researching, I found that was so wrong, because she is literally so important in the movement of feminism. So her work with civil rights, Coretta Scott King devoted much of her life to women's equality. She helped found NOW, which is a huge organisation. It stands for National Organisation for Women, in 1966, and she played a key role in the organisation's development. In her efforts for women's rights, King was also notably the first woman to deliver a Class Day address at Harvard. Okay, so this next woman is literally my favourite woman in the whole world. Like, she is such an inspiration, and she is literally one of my favourite icons in the world of feminism. Like, she is so amazing. Like, I feel like everyone should know about her. So anyway, it's Ruth Bader Ginsburg, and I'm sure most of you know who she is, but if you don't, you've come to the right place. So let's get started with her history. Like, I did more on her because I was so invested in her, and I think she's like a really important in the history of feminism, so let's just get into it. So she grew up and she achieved excellent grades and entered Cornell University on a full scholarship. After this, she studied law at Harvard. Now, I'm going to put in a picture where you can see that she is the only woman in her whole class at Harvard. She was the first woman ever to serve on the editorial staff of the Harvard Law Review. Ruth completed her legal education at Columbia Law School, graduating in tie for first place in her class in 1959. Now, despite her excellent credentials, she really struggled to find employment as a lawyer because, well, she was a woman, but also now she had become a mother. She was eventually hired by Rutgers School of Law as an assistant professor in 1963. She was asked by the dean of the school, though, to accept a low salary because of her husband's high-paying job, who was also a lawyer. Like, that's so unfair. Like, what? After becoming pregnant with her second child, she wore baggy clothes in fear that her contract would not be renewed. Like, that is crazy. So before her tenure as Supreme Court Justice, Bader Ginsburg co-founded the Women's Right Law in 1970, the first US law journal to focus exclusively on women's rights. 2 years later, she co-founded the Women's Right Project at the American Civil Liberties Union, once again making sure women's voices were heard in law. She was then appointed by Bill Clinton in 1993. Bader Ginsburg became the second female Supreme Court Justice ever, a position she held, unfortunately, until she died this year in September. So the next woman that I want to talk about was actually a woman that I'd never heard of before, but I'm so glad I found her. So her name is Jeanette Mock. She was a very important voice for transgender women. Mock has used her journalism career to advocate for trans rights. In 2018, Mock became the first transgender woman of colour to write and direct an episode of television. Most recently, she signed a 3-year multi-million-dollar contract with Netflix, making her the first openly transgender woman of colour to sign a deal with a major content company. Along with much of her personal memoirs, such as A Path to Womanhood, Identity, Love and so much more, she has been such an incredible voice for transgender women, and I think that's so inspiring. So the last and final woman that I want to talk about is Tarana Burke. Now, she actually created the Me Too movement way back in 2006, but it wasn't heard about until 2016-2017 when the Time's Up movement started with Harvey Weinstein. Now, I think it's incredible that I'd never heard of the creator of this movement, and yet she's so inspiring that she came up with this. So basically, she could be said to have started a new wave of feminism. She started the Me Too movement back in 2006, more than a decade before it was heard around the world. She started this because she was a survivor of sexual violence and abuse, and so she started an organisation for women that suffered the same. She was able to empathise with them, and so the Me Too movement grew. Now, her hashtag MeToo went viral, and Burke's Me Too concept created a safe space for women to speak up and fight back against sexual misconduct and marked a new chapter in the future of feminism. Now, I think it's incredible that she is so inspiring, and I'd never even heard of her. So guys, that is the end of the video, and I'm so glad you came here to watch it today because I feel like I learned something. I hope you learned something. Leave in the comments if you'd like me to do this again, because there's so many more women that I'd love to talk about. So thank you so much for watching.